Welcome to this special edition episode of the podcast to celebrate the launch of the You've Got This book. And today I'm sharing with you an interview that I did for the book with Lisa Odenweller, who is the founder of Kroma. Now, Kroma Wellness started in 2021 with the whole ethos of food being medicine. And actually, before then, Lisa was also very active in this space, founding a superfood cafe called Beaming before. She's been a real driving force in wellness for some 15 years and has also learned huge amounts of skills, including how to raise funds, and has done this from over 100 powerful women, including Gwyneth Paltrow, Jessica Seinfeld and other household names. I hope you're going to love this episode. There's lots of information in there and I'm really, really grateful to Lisa for sharing these and spending her time with me. So for people listening to this, and obviously for the book as well, can you tell us a bit about how you got into the wellness space?
Absolutely. So for me, I think I've always been in wellness. I grew up in a really healthy family. And so eating healthy foods and exercising was kind of in my DNA as a child. I didn't think I would go into wellness because I had a career in high tech. I worked for Nestle. I had a jewelry company. I had an interior design company. I had lots of other things that I dabbled in. But there was this underlying kind of desire to make a difference in the world, but I didn't know what that was going to look like. And through some of my own health challenges, my daughter being on ADD medication for several years, there was a lot of things that sort of led me to really first just understanding how to heal myself and my daughter and using food. And as I started to learn what I learned and really understood the how much control we have over our health and how much we take it for granted, it was a turning point for me that we were healing through very simple changes in just our diet and lifestyle, and we were considered healthy. I need to tell the world. I need to help people understand that you have to be the advocate of your own health. You have to take it into your own hands. It starts with food, it starts with lifestyle choices, and then when necessary, it's medication, not the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in Western culture,
Yeah.
in Western medicine, it's quick fix medicine, pharmaceuticals versus actually going to the root of the cause. So for me, that's how this started. And it really became it became a personal mission and sort of this divine calling that I needed to go share this information with the world.
And I love when I was reading about you, it's, correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, but it seemed to be that you went to the doctors because you weren't feeling great and they made some comment about, oh, you're just aging, and you thought, yeah, I'm not good with this. But actually, kind of thank goodness that doctor did say that,
Okay.
because, it's led to your daughter not taking medication, which is huge.
It's so incredible. And yes, you're right. There was the gift in that, right? There was at 38 being told that the symptoms I was having of inflammation and weight gain and foggy brain and no sex drive and poor sleep and losing my hair and all these things at 38, and the gynecologist saying, oh honey, welcome to getting older. And of course my intuition was like, absolutely no, that's not an acceptable answer. And so that then of course then led me also with the intuition as a mother, knowing that there had to be a different way than medication for my daughter with ADD. But 5 doctors all said there was no other option. The only way to help her be able to focus at school and be able to kind of be organized in life was through medication. Intuitively, I knew that there's a place for medicine. Intuitively, I knew that there was a better way. It took me a while until I was really educated and understood how much food can cause inflammation, not only in the body, but in the brain, especially if you're sensitive and have ADD potential symptoms. And so just by me becoming more educated and making those simple changes, which were so simple, and I think that's the big thing here is we make it so complicated. All we did is remove gluten, we removed dairy, anything processed, because at the time, even things that said they were healthy really weren't. Wheat thins and whole grain goldfish and these things that we thought were healthy were filled with chemicals and dyes and bad oils and all these things. I thought I was doing something good. As I got educated, I realized this is actually causing harm to my children and especially for my daughter. And just by removing those, within 2 weeks, she was off all medication and she's never been back on.
Wow.
So I kind of often tell the story that for me, that was the moment of truth. One, I was thrilled that she was off medication and I was horrifically angry at the system,
Yeah.
and that I felt like I had been failed, and that no doctor had ever said, let's start with food.
No, I can
And
understand that.
that and that became the catalyst for the last 14 years being in wellness and creating healthy foods that taste good and use the highest integrity ingredients and put them in combinations that simplify people's life and help them feel good in their body. And that just became my path. And it's been an incredible one because it's really been very powerful for tens of thousands of people.
Absolutely. And obviously, your path now is you've got an amazing business called Kroma Wellness, but it wasn't always like it is now, was it? It wasn't an easy journey to get to the place you are now.
No, it definitely was not. And I think any entrepreneur bringing an idea to life starts with passion and a very clear why, and then unbelievable, relentless tenacity because it's so hard. And it's not just hard figuring it out, especially because most of us, that are entrepreneurs, if you have an MBA, great, because you've got the business knowledge, but you may not have the savviness of trying to figure it out. Most of us don't have the skills. And so we're trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together without it. And so it's a chess game. And it's overwhelming. And it's also exciting, but it's really hard. And it takes so much because there's so many obstacles and there's so many tests along the way that are going to challenge how committed you are to bring that idea to life. Having been now a founder of 4 different companies and 2 in wellness, my last one, Beaming, which you referenced earlier, was an incredible brand, one of the best brands in the country. And I had to learn some hard lessons. I had never raised money before. I had never had a board before. We grew really fast. It was the hottest brand in the country, and I made some mistakes that ultimately cost me the company. And those were moments of truth for me to really dig deep and understand, what can I learn? How did I get here? How do I never get here again if I'm going to create again? And then using that knowledge, that wisdom, that humility to then give me the strength to create again. And that then led me to Kroma, but it didn't happen overnight. And then even when starting Kroma, the idea was not fully fleshed out. But I had to create momentum. And so when I started Kroma, I started with 4 products in the market just to create momentum. I knew that wasn't the ultimate end all, but I wanted to get something in the market so I wasn't just sitting stuck. And I think that's such an important part in entrepreneurship is sometimes we're waiting for the everything to be perfect. We're waiting for the exact aha. And I think sometimes you just need to start.
Yeah.
And by starting, what ended up happening is I put these 4 products, there was adaptogen lattes, which we have now today, but by putting those out in the market, I think after about 3 months, I pulled them off market and they were online and they were at a famous grocery store in LA called Erewhon. And I pulled them and I said, this isn't it, but I now know what it is. And I had to go back to my main investor and tell him, trust me, we're going to disappear for a year, but we're going to come back bigger than ever. And you got to just trust me on this. And that was for me kind of going back in because the vision was so clear at that time. I could then really dive in with that passion and that heart and soul that you have to have when you're really bringing, your idea to life.
No,
But it's
completely.
been a challenge. Raising money is hard, finding a business partner, there's hiring. I mean, I could go on and on. And I look at where we're at today. We're 2 years old now. We're still very young, so much to learn, so much opportunity. I pinch myself every day that I get to do this, that we get to change the lives that we do, that we have the experiences, that we have the support that we have. And but again, that did not happen overnight.
No, I mean, there's 2 points there that I'd really love a little bit more on how you overcame them. Really, after your beaming, which was obviously a huge success, and as you say, then you moved away from the company. When you started Chroma, were you worried about something similar happening again, or because you'd learnt those lessons the really really hard way, were you determined to make that count, almost make that difficulty matter?
I think when you go through something that hard, And it really brought me to my knees. At least this is how I approached it: is what can I learn? How can I grow? What's my responsibility here? How can I be accountable to the outcome? Uh, and and that then gave me the insight and wisdom to be able to create from a place of, here's the mistakes I'm not going to make again.
Mm.
I'll make some new ones, I'm sure, but I'm not going to make those again. And I think that it's also a really important part when we have quote failures, because your failures are your greatest gifts. And when you have those failures, and I don't look at Beaming as a failure at all, it was an incredible brand. And I'm so proud of what I built and my team. But when you have that, the things don't go the way you had hoped, the that's the opportunity. And I wouldn't be the leader that I am today. I wouldn't be the founder that I am today. I wouldn't have been as investable as I am today had I not gone through that.
Yeah.
So as much as it brought me to my knees and I started to doubt everything about myself and my ability to, I called it, I was like, am I just a one-hit wonder? Because you really got tested, and my ego, everything was shattered. But that's also what needed to happen for me to come back and really be the entrepreneur that I am today, and have the humility to continue to be curious and um, really surround myself with people who can support that dream and vision and be part of this with me.
Sure. It's a tricky one because we talk about fear of failure, but as you say, Beaming definitely wasn't a failure at all. But it is a worry that I think so many entrepreneurs have, whether they've had a successful business, whether it hasn't ended the way they wanted to, or whether they're starting from afresh. Do you have any kind of advice for people who have got that fear of failure that's actually stopping them progressing?
There's a great quote: fear the fear, feel the fear, and do it anyway. And I think, again, this is not everyone's cut out to be an entrepreneur.
Mm.
It is absolutely not for the faint of heart. And so it's not that you don't have the fear of failure. Where I have approached it differently is, but I'm not going to put my energy there. I'm going to focus on the why. I'm going to focus on the vision of what we're creating, the lives that we want to change, the impact we want to make, because that's where the energy is going to go. If I put my energy into the what ifs, and it's not that I put my head in the sand at all. I have a business partner who focuses on all the what ifs. Constantly, the sky is falling, and I focus on, here's where we're going. Even if I don't know exactly the line, I just understand how we're gonna like put the pieces of the puzzle together. And I think so often we become handicapped by fear.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such an important thing to recognize, because if you lead with fear, not only does it necessarily probably influence the outcome, which isn't the one you want, but the entire team and everyone with you will also feel that energy. And it's I would say it's near impossible to create from that space.
Yeah, I think that's so well said. And I'm sure there's another quote about basically what you focus on, you get. So as you say, if you're
Absolutely.
focusing on the failure, it's not setting you up for success, is it?
Well, and it's so funny because when I was in all the different companies I've started, but Beaming and Kroma, everyone always wanted to talk about, well, what if this happens or what if that happens? And I was like, why would I put my energy there? Like, because I could do that all day long and come up with a million scenarios that might go wrong. I'm going to focus on all the things that are going to go right to help us get to where we're trying to go. And that is, what you put your attention on is, right? That's your reality. And so for me, that's been, I think, a big part of our success. Is it's not that I ignore the challenges, but I'm very pragmatic about it and solution oriented, so I can keep staying focused on that North Star.
Completely. And one other thing that you mentioned, which kind of fits with the sort of lack of stuff, lack of resources aspect, is obviously starting a company in the way that you did with the kind of businesses that you've had. Again, it's not cheap. You have to have people helping you. You have to have the investment, and you've talked about investors as well. How did you overcome that lack of financial resource to get those investors to find the right people?
So I raised about 5 million for Beaming and never had raised $1 in my life. I had no idea. I had never raised, built a business plan. I had no idea. I think the first wave was about 650,000 from people who had tried my beta product, fell in love with it, like believed in me, wrote those first checks, and then the business was existing. And so it was a lot easier to raise then the next wave of money because it was like, oh, this is actually a business that's producing revenue. So raising money is never easy, but I had a different, that was sort of the approach there. Going into Kroma and raising money there it was very interesting because the day before we had just finished the business plan, and my business partner and I were ready to go tell the world and go raise money. And the next day the world shut down with COVID. And it was, obviously screeching halt because now we're focused on what is COVID and the fear and how do we get toilet paper and groceries. And the last thing I could go do was go ask people for money.
Mm-hmm.
So what that gave me was the opportunity to go, okay, pivot again. And what I ended up doing was creating the beta program, the beta reset, 5-day reset program, and trialing that and getting feedback. And, first 5 people went through it, and then 10 people went through it. Next thing you know, 140 people went through it. It became our silver bullet for raising money, because what I had to do was people to experience the program, the food, understand the vision of what we were creating, which then led to raising the money. That was a necessary piece of the puzzle, especially because in today's market, at least in the US, they want you to be, if you're going to go to a VC for money, they want you to have proof of concept. They want you to have revenue. Well, it's very hard to get that if you don't actually have the money to start it. So as I talked to VC after VC and they were intrigued with my idea, of course, they wanted me to go bring it to market first. So I had to put that on hold, completely change my fundraising strategy. And I thought, what if I could bring together a group of individuals, from celebrities to the mom in the community to the business leaders and everyone in between, that would be so passionate about what we're doing, believe in me, believe in the vision, and help us tell the world. And if they could come together with me and be that go-to-market strategy, that just seemed like a much friendlier way to raise money. So we actually have 110 investors, 100 of which are women.
Wow.
And that was intentional.
That's really cool. And I love the way you sort of turn that on its head, because as you say, if people who want to invest in you want to see your business is succeeding, but you need money to show what they want, it's a really difficult chicken and egg situation. But by spinning it round and going, okay, I'm going to approach these people and they can try it, they can then become advocates for me. And have some of those then become investors as well?
I mean, so all the people of the beta users of the 5-day reset, 110 of them became investors. So
wow.
That was actually what became that catalyst for investment, versus me telling them what this is. They got to experience what it was, and they understood. And then they could understand what the business model was, and it created that kind of trust. I will say, because going back to the failure story, because of Beaming and because I had such a strong reputation for creating amazing foods and being a thought leader in wellness, that really helped me in raising this money. It's what led Gwyneth Paltrow to emailing me and asking if she could invest.
I mean, that's amazing. That's just incredible, isn't it?
It was incredible. Yeah, those are screaming moments, right? and all of the people that came together, I didn't know any of the investors. And so I think that's a really important part for anyone raising money. One, if you don't have to raise it, don't.
Yeah.
And it also, I want to add to that, for me, I needed to raise quite a bit of money. So it wasn't like, well, let's just go do the farmer's market and slow build, because there's a lot to be said about doing that. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, that's the right path. For me, because we were launching with 14 products, we had a 5-day reset, I needed millions of dollars that I did not have. And so there was no other way to bring this to market but to go raise money. And I didn't have it myself. Where I also want to add on to that, though, is that the investors that I have, I didn't know any of them. So it's not like I went into my Rolodex and was like, oh, Gwyneth and this person, that person. Like I didn't know any of the celebrities. I didn't know 95% of the people that ended up investing. What I did was just keep going out and knocking on doors and putting my idea in front of friends, in front of family, in front of anyone who would listen to me. And if they didn't invest, ask them who might want to. And then it just kept, kind of going from there. And then somebody would say yes. And I'd ask them who else they might know that would be interested. And then they would make introductions. So it was really just that very tenacious, do whatever it takes. But what was really important I think for the outcome was I was so clear about the kind of people I wanted to attract, the energy that I wanted with those people, what I wanted them to bring to the table, everything from just helping me tell the world to being able to tap into their mind share or their connections. So it was a vision that I had from the get-go of bringing these incredible angel investors together, that I think allowed me to attract that because I was very clear about the strategy.
But I love that as well, because people who are in this entrepreneurial position thinking, I need to raise money, but I don't have rich friends, I'm done. That's not actually it at all. It is that knocking on doors and putting yourself out there, safe in the knowledge that you're not going to be for everybody, but you don't need everybody to invest in you, do you? Quite the opposite. You want the select people.
You actually definitely do not, because all money is not equal. And I had the experience with Beaming, and I had experiences with Kroma where I was tested with investors that, thank God, I didn't take their money, and it would have been disastrous if I had. And so things do work out as they're supposed to, and you have to listen to your gut and your instinct, because when that thing kind of rears its head and says, I don't know if I trust this person, I don't know if it's the energy I want, listen to that. There's always somebody else. And so you have to listen to that, because that could poison your business and certainly negatively impact the outcome. And that's what happened with my last business.
No, completely. I mean, that is brilliant. Is there any other kind of advice or tips you'd give somebody who is really trying to either grow their business, start a business, and they're just finding themselves getting stuck? For whatever reason, they're just getting stuck. I mean, I'm sure that, with your 4 businesses, there are times when you've just gone, this is really hard. But you've obviously dug deep.
I think being in flow is such a magical time in necessary time in creation. Because I think when you're in flow, there's a divine energy working with you. I think when there's so much resistance, one, you're being tested. I do believe that we're tested to see how badly we really want it. And obviously raising money for Kroma, I was being tested every day. But it also gave me the strength to say, I'm going to do whatever it takes. Now, when you're in flow and you're building, I think that when there is so much resistance, you have to kind of pay attention to where the resistance is coming from. Am I approaching this? Is there a better way to approach this? Is it a time to check in and understand what my why is and really be clear, or how I'm really differentiating? Because I think part of also what happens with entrepreneurs is we get very tunnel visioned. And so we see the world only from our lens, and that's dangerous, because it's good that you believe so much in your product or service, but you have to be paying attention to everything else that's happening around you, and also make sure that the blind spots, because we always have them, you've got other people or resources who are helping you navigate those, and that you're not trying to do this on your own, because it's actually not possible. So that resistance to me is opportunity to reflect, to stop, to look at what's working, what's not. Am I in alignment with that vision? And because the real magic happens when you're in flow.
Yeah, no, completely. Well, thank you so much. That's amazing. I massively appreciate all your time. For the podcast version, could you tell us all the places where people can find you online? Because they're going to want to find out all about Kroma and all about you.
Absolutely. So Kroma Wellness is Kroma with a K, Kroma wellness.com. Also on Instagram at Kroma Wellness. And then you can find me at Lisa_Odenweller. And it's ODENWELLER. And I love getting DMs and hearing from people.
Thank you so much. I hope you loved that episode. If you want to find out more about Kroma, check out kromawellness.com or follow the brand on Instagram at kroma with a K wellness.com, or you can follow Lisa herself at Lisa_Odenweller on Instagram as well. And of course, if you haven't got the book yet, you know what I'm going to say, head on over to any good bookshop and look for it. It's You've Got This, or search online for You've Got This and my name, Ria Freeman, and you should be able to buy it there too. Thanks so much.